Hello, this is Leighton Pearce presenting Radio Sampha, brought to you by the Department of Environment, Water and Natural Resources. Okay, welcome to Radio Sampha, and today's guest is Carolyn Shaw. Carolyn, welcome to Radio Sampha.
Thank you.
Now, Carolyn, can you tell us about your farm?
My farm's situated south of Waikerie, and it's 4,500 acres size. I've been farming for 11 years, and on the farm I'm a cereal cropper and also run Dorper sheep for lamb production. So I'm a food producer, I like to say. On the farm there's mostly rubble rock and great big sandhills. The rainfall's around 11 inches. Get reasonable rain in winter, but where I'm situated, probably we get quite a bit of summer rain within that rainfall. So, yes, there's quite often summer weeds. And the seeding system, I've been direct drilling for 6 years, probably, and still on 9-inch row spacings. 1,500 acres of non-arable ground, which actually does put a bit of pressure on my rotations. But my rotations, when I first started 10 years ago, I had a set idea from my cultural background, from coming from a different area, but I've changed all of that idea, and I've sort of gone into a phase cropping rotation due to having sheep and the need for pasture, but also top of the list is weed control as well, but helped there because with the non-arable ground I can use that for grazing. Nutrition management with crops, I've really gone to using higher sulphur ammonium sulphate blends, I think, and it's definitely been a great thing. Had a lot, I don't get the uneven colouring over the crops, over the sandhills, and I've got just a homemade variable rate system, and that's great. So for the sandhills, usually putting on a lot more on the sandhills. So soil cover management, is very, very important because where I am is pretty windy and the soil's very fragile, and I think unless you live that, you don't really get to understand just how important that is. That's where livestock management as well as direct drilling and stubble cover is very important.
So can you tell us more about the livestock that you run, how many head and breed of sheep that you're running, and the issues that you've encountered with the sheep that you have?
Okay, so went to running Dorpers 2008. I was running Merinos as well, and I slowly swapped over due to issues with not finding staff and shearers and so on, and I wanted to simplify the system a little bit, not that I'm against having Merinos, and also reduce the amount of application as far as chemical applications on sheep, which has been great. And I've been able to increase my stocking rate almost double, although, having said that, since I've had the Dorpers, I have had to improve my fencing. It hasn't been too bad, not as bad as what I thought it might be, because I've not ever, only once I bought some Dorper lambs in which didn't stay on the place, they just walked through everything. But that's the worst thing you can do, probably, is buy in lambs from a different place. But how I've managed it so far is use their territorial behavioural traits to my advantage, and I only obtain my own lambs, and that has helped with keeping them on the place. But I have learnt, they've taught me that if there's no feed and they run out of feed, well, then they will travel. They will not starve. So I've had to keep the feed in front of them. But having said that, I think it's made me a better manager. And yeah, they're just fantastic mothers. They grow quickly. The lambs are just, as soon as they hit the ground, they're up and eating and following the mothers. And there's a great market. Butchers want them because they dress out. Their dressing percentage is great.
So what are you doing in terms of marketing them?
I sell them in a variety of places. I've got some butchers that specifically want them. I also started up a company with my own label, so selling direct and hopefully selling them to markets pretty soon, farmers markets, and also having the label in a butcher shop. And I wished I had many, many more to sell. Mariana lamb, and which is named after bluebush, which I have a lot of different species of bluebush. Some of the natives are great for the higher magnesium levels, which you need good ratios of calcium, magnesium and phosphorus for good growth rates.
So you're not only a farmer, you're obviously a inspirational woman to a lot of people, but you're also a carer of the environment. What are you doing to improve the environment in your area?
With the phase cropping, letting some of the native bluebush and saltbush re-establish in some areas, and also areas that haven't been cropped, keeping the sheep off of them so that they can re-establish. Then when we do get short on feed, they can go and graze that, as well as growing cereal pastures so that the cereal pasture complements the nutrition that's in the native species.
What's the most enjoyable part of farming for you?
I think it's being out in the wild and in nature and connecting with that world, and the challenge of getting your management right and seeing improvements, seeing the land improve, seeing the soil microbes produce a better crop, and with direct drilling and all those methods that we have available to us now, and the tools we can use, and the varieties, the advancements in agronomy is fantastic. I think we live in a great time for improving nature, diversity, cropping. It's a great thing.
So what sort of changes do you think you'll see in your farm over the next 5-10 years?
Possibly more native trees, better management. We can always do better management. I think a great thing to do would be to bring the management and the farm to a greater productivity, as well as the benefits to the environmental challenges, is to have some more research into grazing shrubs, so that we can utilise some of the ground and that isn't being utilised as much as it could be with regard to grazing, and then that would fit in really well with some cover cropping research. It's fine I think it's a great idea that's the Americans are doing, but big questions on how we can adapt that to our environment, especially in the Mallee. And I think we can and we must, because it might be a little bit down in the future, way down in the future, but I think we need to. I think that if we can make that work, then that's a great thing, particularly with summer rainfall issues and summer cropping. That's a real game changer to reduce fertiliser costs, applications, reducing chemical applications, those issues. It's another tool that we could use.
Excellent, Carolyn. I'd like to thank you for joining us on Radio Sanford, and wish you all the best for the coming season.
Thanks very much, Leighton.
You can connect with Sanford a number of ways. Connect with us through Twitter, Facebook, Skype, YouTube, WhatsApp, our website, or email or text us. Welcome to Radio Sanford, and today's speaker is Anika Paradon. Anika, welcome to Radio Sanford.
Thanks, Leighton.
Okay, Anika, you've been doing a lot of work over the last few years on cover crops in Australia. So how can cover crops work in Australia?
So I'm talking a bit from my experience in Victoria and more the southern parts of Victoria. So I think we've got a great opportunity in the southern hemisphere in general, in that our fallow period in between harvest and sowing is not covered in snow. So we actually have conditions where we can grow a plant and grow a cover crop or grow stock feed or whatever we want to grow in between harvest and sowing of our next cash crop. So, it's probably going to be opportunistic in terms of weather and sowing opportunities at this stage, but my whole mantra is if the seed's not in the ground, it's not going to grow. So the bag's not going to grow in the shed, basically. So it's got to be part of a plan. I think the seasons are going to dictate success, but any growth is better than nothing in terms of what we're doing cover cropping for in that diversity.
Okay, so this year we're looking at a La Nina they're talking about, so we're potentially maybe looking at a wet spring, etc. Would it be something worthwhile for farmers to consider at the end of harvest this year to put something in the ground?
After a good spring and potentially a wet harvest, if there's moisture there to use, there's definitely opportunities for cover cropping. There's been a lot of farmers that, like hay is a bigger part of their rotation now for weed control, and there's a few guys planning to sow a cover crop after their hay cut in November. So just get it going a little bit earlier. I think every farmer's going to see different opportunities, different timings, different preferences for any year, whether it's a La Nina spring or not.
So what are the benefits that a cover crop bring to a farmer?
In the area that I'm based, 90% of farms have livestock on them. So it's hard not to look at cover crops as a bit of opportunistic grazing over summer and autumn as well. Which I don't think is a bad thing. I think what we've heard from the guys in the States about livestock being a vital part of the soil health mantra, and if you can get a bit of return back from grazing your cover crop without any detrimental damage to your soil, then why wouldn't you?
Okay, so you're, a farmer, but you're also a consultant as well. If you weren't a consultant, what would you be?
I would absolutely be a farmer and just experimenting with everything. I think my farm would be full of trials and mistakes. I think through my sort of research background, I've learnt more from making mistakes than from things that I intended to work. So yeah, I'd be pushing the boundaries and just a little bit every year and just see what's possible.
You've been doing a lot of work with early sowing of canola. What are those results showing at the moment?
Yep, so the spring sowing of the winter habit canola or the early autumn sowing is, I think, absolute great fit in the southern parts of Australia, in that, in a spring sowing we can actually, bring a pasture in, sow canola, graze it over summer and autumn if you want to, and you don't have to. And the vernalisation requirement means that it won't go reproductive until after winter. So I think it's basically almost a cover crop and a cash crop in one sowing pass. And I've been playing around a bit with companion crops over the summer, so a millet or a winter wheat, sorghum, tillage radish in the mix with the canola, as well as just boosting the grazing value and getting that diversity in there as well.
On behalf of Radio Sam, thank you for coming into our studios today.
It's been a pleasure, Leighton. Thanks for having me.
If you subscribe to Radio Santha through iTunes, don't forget to provide a rating and a review on the iTunes website for Radio Santha. Today we have the singing agronomist Chris Madonna, and singing for us today, Am I Not Busy Enough? Thanks, Chris.
Am I not busy enough with my kids screaming at me? Can someone please turn that down and get out of the pantry? Who left their school bags here? Just get on with your homework. I'm trying to make some gravy. net. I'm trying to ring your teacher. Oh no, there's lumps in the gravy. An urgent fax came through. I wasn't quite sure what to do. Your phone was out of range, so I sold 1,000 tons of grain. It seemed like a good price. The man, he sounded nice, and there's a drought in Uzbekistan, apparently. But anyway, am I not busy enough with 5 kids screaming at me? Can someone please turn that down? I think I'm going crazy. Oh no, oh great, you're finally home. It's easy in the microwave. And don't you dare complain about the gravy. Don't you complain, don't you complain, don't you complain about the gravy.
Benefits of a SANFA membership include subscription to our quarterly magazine, The Cutting Edge, reduced entry fees to our annual conference, access to crop walks throughout the year. If you're interested in becoming a SANFA member, please go to www.sanfa.com.au. Welcome to Radio SANFA, and today's guest is Lou Fleur from the Mallee in South Australia. Welcome to Radio SANFA, Lou.
Thank you very much, Leighton.
Lou, I believe that you've been doing a lot of work with women's groups or partners of farmers with respect to increasing their knowledge in agronomy. Can you tell me more about these groups that you've been operating?
The idea spawned from several women working with their husbands and basically just trying to fill that knowledge gap. They were really interested in participating in the conversation on farm and going around paddocks, but lacked some of that real basic information, crop ID, growth stages, weed identification, and yeah, the idea came from there. So we managed to get some funding from GRDC initially, and they funded the initial workshop in the Mallee, and from there it's really just grown. I've also run a group in Udunda. Last week I was in Bullaroo doing a session, and then it's from that Partners in Grains also had some interest in the program as well, and I've done a number of crop walks with the Partners in Grain groups around the state, and women love learning about it. They often are too embarrassed about their lack of knowledge to ask questions to professionals or agronomists, and it just is providing that platform to ask those questions and fill the knowledge gap.
What's the reaction been from women that have been attending it? And it's obviously growing.
It's basically that the women that are participating are professionals in some sort of capacity off farm, so they really lack that basic knowledge.
So as a result of these workshops, are the women becoming more involved in the farm decision-making process?
The women that have participated in the workshops are participating in the conversation about on-farm management and the practices that are going on farm, and they may be more of a sounding board than what they were previously. And also I think one of the really good outcomes from it is that they have the confidence to attend other events within their areas, such as field days and crop walks, and having learnt that real basic knowledge, they're going out with more confidence to those sorts of events and picking up new info.
For any women that are listening are interested in attending any of these workshops, how do they get in contact with you, Lou?
Yeah, it's just easiest way would be to Google my name and find my phone number or flick us an email. I'd be more than interested in helping other groups do something similar in their area if we can get a group together.
Now, yourself, you're a farmer as well, which gives you a distinct advantage as a consultant because your learnings, I guess, are applied to your clients. So what benefits have you learnt on farm that you've been able to use as a consultant?
The biggest advantage from being a farmer as well as an advisor is that you can really relate to the issues that the farmer has. It's the frustrations they may have with certain delivery of grain, issues with frost and the management there forward. I think that definitely having that on-farm experience helps you be able to relate a lot better to your clients, and they're really interested in what you do on your farm and can give that information with confidence, and certainly beneficial to the role.
I guess you've got a greater understanding of the cost structures as well, and what is relevant to farming.
Especially all the other things that agronomists don't, or farm consultants don't see. You know, once they leave that farm gate, they may think that things aren't being done on time, but when you are actually doing that role as farming as well, I think you can see all the other jobs that farmers have to do on top of the spraying that may need to be done, or the urea that needs to be spread. So in some ways you can be a little bit more understanding because you know the pressures that are on farmers.
Now, can you tell me about your role as a consultant and where you're practicing and what sort of clientele that you're involved with?
Yeah, I work mostly in the Southern Mallee. I do go into the Victorian Mallee as well, but mostly in that Lameroo-Pinaroo area. Murrayville is a growing area as well, and I do have a few clients in the Northern Mallee as well. So it's not a huge area, but I get a nice spread of livestock and cropping and hay production. So it's certainly nice and diverse for me to manage.
So what emerging issues should farmers in the Mallee be aware of that are coming up?
Very topical at the moment, of course, is the Russian wheat aphid. That's widespread through the Mallee now, but I guess from a more strategic point of view is managing risk. I think most farmers would agree that the climate is changing in our district, the dry springs and also the warmer autumn period. So I think that will be a challenge for farmers moving forward. And I think that's just a matter of managing risk, and that might be through diversifying the enterprise mix, whether it's livestock or a diverse range of crops, and also the role that hay may provide in managing the dry springs.
What's the best part of being a consultant?
Best part of being a consultant, I think, is being able to work with farmers. They're a good bunch of guys and women.
What sort of mix in your clientele do you have as terms of cultural practices?
Most farmers that I work with are no-till in conjunction with livestock. So stubbles still are grazed, mostly stubble retention, but with that light graze as well. There is certainly growing interest in discs, and I think quite a few growers would love to have the best of both worlds, have a disc and a tine and press wheel bar, but whether the bank balance will allow that is certainly questionable.
Okay, on behalf of Radio Sanford, I'd like to thank Lou for joining us today and wish you all the best for the coming season.
No worries, thanks Leighton.
Thank you for listening to Radio Sanford, the voice of agriculture.